Yes, they are. Before I do that, you mentioned that security alert in Westminster, Mark. Just to confirm, the Metropolitan Police now saying that that has been given the all clear. Nothing to get too excited about, really. These security alerts are a daily occurrence, as unfortunately are these environmental protests that have been taking place still on the Dartford Crossing, but also here on the A4, that main arterial route in and out of central London. It was 7:30 this morning when a group of 30 activists sat across both of the carriageways here, just bringing that morning rush hour traffic to a halt. It was 2 hours effectively before police were able to get the last of the protesters freed from the roadway. Some, of course, as is their practice now, glued their hands to the roadway. Others locked on to each other. So these things are always a bit protracted by the time the police get enough in the way of resources to the scene, and then the specialist teams to be able to free them. And then, of course, they're arrested. Now, Scotland Yard have confirmed that 26 environmental protesters have now been arrested. They've been taken to a South London police station for processing. But what we get, of course, is this revolving door of arrests and then processing at police stations. These people are then released to go on and take part in other direct action protests in the hours and days after that. That's why, of course, the Home Secretary now is trying to reintroduce legislation to Parliament to try to bring in tougher sentences and penalties for those involved in this kind of disruptive direct action, which may, if it goes through Parliament, result in jail terms for those persistent offenders.
Mark, we don't have much time, but we're going to speak to you throughout the show today. But could you just tell us, where is the line between being able to protest and being arrested for protesting? How do you cross that line?
Well, they crossed that line today because if you sit on the King's Highway obstructing traffic, that is a criminal offence. But the difficulty is, it is at the very low end of the scale in terms of offences. So you get charged, you'll appear before a magistrate's court, slap on the wrist, a small fine, and you'll be released. So you can go and you can continue these direct action protests for days and weeks after that. That's why the government wants tougher legislation in place so that they can introduce injunctions to stop these direct action protests, a bit like they did with Insulate Britain a year ago. They introduced injunctions. Then if you breach an injunction, it is an altogether more serious offence because that is a court-enabled injunction that you're breaching, and of course that can result in a prison term, and a number of people were imprisoned as a result of those protests and injunction breaches about a year or so ago.